Welcome, my Mercurial mercenaries. It has often been said, well, I say often been said, has anyone actually ever said it to me? Perhaps not, but I think people think it. I think people think it. It's often been said, thought, that I have the inability to tell a straight, not sexually, but a straight down the line, like you're driving down a very, very straight road, not highway, that I have the inability to tell a straight story without constant deviation, hesitation, repetition, but mainly deviation. And I would like to have it put on the record now, not literally, although I know that Jack White once bought a machine that could transfer what you do orally, not orally, with an A, directly onto a slab of vinyl. But I'd like to not do that. I'm not going to go all the way to wherever Jack White lives now with his sister, wife, brother, whoever it is, likewise dressed in red, hitting a load of drums while he's trying to play the guitar. I don't need to go to his house, but I'd like to put it on the record that I have the ability to tell it straight, not sexually. It's a straight story without deviation. I'd like to do this story. It's got a story. It happened. This is a real story. Very short, sharp. I'm going to tell you something that happened to me with no word of a lie. And we're going to go from something that sounds mundane and simple, and we're going to end at a kind of, I'd almost say, I mean, I might almost say it, but I'm going to say it. So that puts a little bit of the whole thing, but I'd almost say, but I'm going to say it. We're going to go from something that's quite simple and mundane to an existential crisis. And this is going to be short and sharp. This is a story about me and a bag of crisps. Now, for those of you without the intellectual superiority and reasoning of people who live in the UK, crisps are as they sound. Crisp. Crisp. Slices of potato that have been fried, or if you're trying to be healthy, there's a preponderance, that was preponderance, but it's hard to do that with like that. There's a preponderance of people trying to be healthy these days, so crisps are starting to be baked. But let's just stick with fried potatoes. Now, the alternative here when it comes to things you can do with potatoes, because you can basically do, potatoes are like magic. Barry Manilow wants to get his hands on them. But that's the thing, right? Potatoes, straight down the line. Imagine you're a truck driver, right? Which way? I don't know which way you do it in the UK, because I've never driven a truck. Imagine you're a truck driver, straight road like that, right? The alternative here is chip. But a chip, if you get a chip right, and I am a connoisseur of chips, actually a crisps as well, but a connoisseur of chips. The best chip, and you'll hear chefs disagree with me on this one, bit my tongue there, disagree with me on this one. You'll hear chefs disagree with me on this one, but they'll say a great chip should be a crisp. And they'll do things like, when you go to a posh restaurant, or even the beef eater these days, when you go to a posh restaurant, they'll say, would you like your chips double fried? And I had one recently where the waitress asked me if I'd like my chips triple fried. They didn't get it right the first time or the second time, but they get it right the third time. And the thing is, this is to get the chips extra crispy. But what these people in the posh restaurants don't realise is that the greatest chips, let's face it, yeah, chip, not French fry. The greatest chip is one that's slightly soggy, drenched in vinegar and salt. Salt and vinegar. I don't know why I put it around the other way around then, vinegar and salt. Salt and vinegar. And straight down the line, imagine we're both driving this thing now, right? Now, a chip. You go to a restaurant, a fancy restaurant. They'll ask, "Oh, would you like your chips, French fries, triple fried?" for extra Christmas. But the thing that you're not realising is you need to wrap the chips up and get them all sweaty. So they go all sweaty and limp, yeah? Whereas a lot of the time people will tell you that limp, especially sexually, I suppose, limp is, it's not sought after. Even the word limp. I mean, unless you're a limpet, from the mollusk family, I have to check that. Is a limpet part of them? I'm shaking my coffee there. Is a limpet, I've had too much coffee today. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cups, and now this one, I've had 5 cups of 6 on the Richter scale, on the packet coffee, and I went out and and one of those was an out coffee. When you go out to have a coffee, it's stronger than an in coffee. Nothing to do with belly buttons. And this one probably, I haven't checked, but probably on the wrapping here, it probably says, warning, high in caffeine content. But when it comes to chips, French fries, chips, not French fries, limp is something that you get it and you go, oh, look at this. And it's like limp and you put extra... The thing is, right, what I realised, and this was on a website the other day, telling me about this, a BBC website or something, and it said, and this was a new one, right, vinegar at chip shops, vinegar at French fry shops, you don't get, in the rest of the world, I don't think you get chip shops, fish and chip shops, but they said, right, and this is a new one on me, when I was a student, I used to get 99p pints, and used to have happy hours, which was like an hour of the night where you could have any drink, well, I think it was pints of beer really, for 99p, right? And we always suspected that the pints were watered down. You get the keg of Heineken or whatever, and you water it down and you sell it to the students for £1 a pint. We suspected it. We suspected it so strongly because our suspicions were probably just the truth. And sometimes in life, when your suspicions are the truth, you don't need Judge Judy to be there to rule upon it, all right? But I always suspected that they watered down the vinegar in chip shops. But what I read recently is that the vinegar, if you're a connoisseur of like Sarsens and decent vinegars, especially cider vinegar, apparently a little bit of cider vinegar a day keeps everybody away. But if you suspected that vinegar was watered down at chip shops, it turns out that vinegar at chip shops isn't vinegar. Look it up. There was an article on I'm still ill. There was an article on a BBC website recently, on the BBC News website, where it just explained that I'm shaking the vinegar. The vinegar in chip shops isn't vinegar. It's vinegar substitute, a bit like Faulty Towers, where there was veal substitute. Too many air pockets. They don't use real... Oh my God. You'd have thought my right arm would be stronger than that. Vinegar. It turns out vinegar in chip shops isn't real vinegar. It's just a chemical compound, substitute. So when the likes of me, go into a fish and chip shop and they say, do you want vinegar on that? And you go, yeah, please. And you watch them do it and you think, well, I'm going to put some more on. They hand you the chips in the wrapper and then you get the extra vinegar off the worktop and you put more on. What you've got to remember now is it's not real vinegar. So you're better off waiting until you get home and putting vinegar on at home. But whenever someone does that, I always think, no! And you get home and they go, oh, do you want extra vinegar on that? And think, no, I want it exactly like it was when it left the chip shop. I don't want I don't want adulterated chips. I want it as it was from the shop. And the worst thing is when someone they go, oh, your chips have gone a bit cold. I'll warm them up for you. And they put them in the microwave. No. Or even any kind of restaurant, takeaway food. When someone keeps it warm, oh, I've kept it warm for you. I put it in the oven, just kept it warm. Or microwave. No. I want it unadulterated. There's something about adding extra warmth to food that's already been cooked from a restaurant takeaway. That when you add extra warmth, it undoes something. I don't know how, but it undoes something. This is a story. This is a very simple story about something that happened a couple of days ago. About me and a packet of crisps. I was in a room full of people. Let's say it was a music conference. All right, let's say that's what it was. And earlier that day, because I have this problem, all right, I have this problem where if a room goes quiet, you can guarantee that my stomach will rumble. And it doesn't just rumble a little bit, it rumbles to the point, this might be a medical condition, I should look this up. But it rumbles so loudly that people in the room will like duck and cover. And then once it does that rumbling, I do things to try and sort of stop the rumble. So I'll like hold my breath, or I'll suck my stomach in, which is difficult at the moment because I'm getting fat again. Or I'll press my stomach out so I look like Mr. Greedy. It's not a good look. But what happens is no matter what I do, the rumble will continue. It's like the rumble in the jungle, except with less boxing and probably slightly more ego, funnily enough, but certainly less boxing. I'd bought a packet of crisps, crisps, not chips. And I know. I bought a packet of crisps. Shut up. I bought a packet of crisps earlier in the day. I won't mention the brand name. I wouldn't want to get a lawsuit thrown my way. I bought this packet of crisps. The flavour of the crisps was crispy bacon. Right, remember that? Crispy. It's in the name. Not only is the food item as a generalisation, as a collective, called crisp. Crisp. But the flavour itself is called crispy bacon. Everything about it sounds nothing sounds. We got to a little break in this music conference and I'm surrounded by people, and I thought I need to keep the rumble at bay. So I pulled out of my pocket, because I've got big pockets. Yeah, big pockets and little china. I pulled out of my pocket the packet of crisps that was... It was like ammunition in a war. In a war to maintain the silence of my gut. And to preserve my dignity, really, against the ears of everyone present. I pulled the crisps out. Gave the bag, this is the bag, a little balloon. You know, if you get a nice packet of crisps, like air in it, I think they pump whatever nitrogen or whatever shit into it, right? And I go for the, you know, you do the tear, you know, but it, ooh, and then with crispy bacon, there's an immediate smell that permeates the general vicinity. You think, oh yeah. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. As a rule, I'm trying not to eat crisps at the moment. Because crisps, let me tell you, my mercenaries, crisps on the whole aren't very good for you. But this was more of a medical aid. Yeah? This was to keep, like I told you before, repeating myself a little bit here, this was to keep the rumble at bay. To keep the rumble within the bay of rumbles. Underground, overground, rumbling we, the rumbles of Wimbledon common are we, making good use of the things that we find, the things that we, I don't know what, no, don't, I'm not having it, this is a straight road. Simple story, crisps to existential crisis. Crisps! Chips. Policemen on motorbikes holding floppy pieces of potato as they ride down the road or highway in America. So I pulled a crisp out of the packet. Now this is a very everyday task. Things all of us have done hundreds of times. Something was different this time. I pulled the crisp out of the packet and it came out in one big lump. Like the whole packet just came out in one big kind of congealed mass, which at this point I thought was still crispy. But I laughed. And I said to those around me, I said to those around me, I didn't do it with a stutter. I said to those around me, I held it aloft. I held it aloft as if it was, I was going to say, no, yeah, as it, I'll still say it, as if it was a mighty sword. Although the pen is mightier than the sword. Apparently, if you go into battle, this is what I'm taking with me. You can take your samurai sword and shove it up your arse. But I held it aloft and I said, "Hey, look at this, everybody!" And it was like a potato-sized congealed mass of crisps, which I thought would still be crispy. So I laughed. "Ha, look at this! All the crisps have come out of the bag in one go." And then no one was that interested. I think that people in general think I'm a bit of a prick. And at this point, I thought, this is fine. You know, that didn't go down too well. But I then thought, I'll just, this is purely to keep the rumble at bay. I'll just start to eat my crisps. And at that point, I realised that the crisps didn't kind of all come apart for me to eat them. They weren't like accidentally congealed together. I thought, hold on. It really is just one big mass. Like the thing that, spoiler, like the thing you are at the end of the game inside, which you can watch on this channel as a Let's Play. None of you did, but you can if you like to. Check it out. Maybe I'll put a link below. All right? I'll put a link below. YouTubers of the world, unite. So I realised that this crisp was just a congealed mass. And rather than just quietly put the mess back into the bag, I felt like, because I was holding it aloft still, I felt like I needed to do something. So what I did, and I had to attract everyone's attention as I did this, I went, "Oh, look at this! Look at this! What the hell's this?" This, bearing in mind, this had never happened to me before. I've had bags that have had holes in them before. Crisp bags with holes where the crisps inside go a bit limp. But I've never had a bag without a hole, which is still like, balloon, sort of, balloon. I've never had that. I've never had all the crisps just into one big congealed mass. And I was holding it aloft. And people, because I was making such a fuss about it. "Oh, look at this! Look at this! What's this all about? Look at this! Never in my life!" People were like that. And I had their attention, all right? So I grabbed this. Well, I wasn't grabbing it. I already had it in my hand, all right? What I did was I squeezed the congealed mass of squeezed the congealed mass in my hand, and the oil leaked down my arm, and I had it, and then I released slightly, and everyone could see that I had turned the congealed mass of crisps into a kind of cricket ball-esque lump of potato. A soggy, wet. Well, I mean, soggy is wet. I don't need to qualify the word soggy with wet, really, do I? But in my hand, I had a cricket ball. Because it's supposed to be a packet of crisps. Remember, bacon. Crispy bacon. I had in my hand a cricket ball shaped mass of potato. Then, of course, when I'm mentioning cricket, a cricket ball, there'll be people around the world, because I can't assume everyone's an intellectual watching in England. There'll be people around the world thinking, well, what's cricket? What's cricket? Well, cricket, I'll have you know, right? Cricket is it's a sport. It is a sport. Now, I consider darts to be a sport. And I consider snooker to be a sport. I consider sport to be something that takes skill and you can have competition with. But other people will say, there's no way darts is a sport. sport has to be physical. Sport has to make you sweat. And I'll say, well, look. Darts, you do that. Snooker, you do that. And also, if sport is just something that makes you sweat, then my life is a sport. My life is a sport. Because I'm sweating right now. Making YouTube videos is a sport, according to these idiots. Anyway, cricket. It's a sport that while you're playing it, you can eat sandwiches. Seriously, you'll see people like, so basically, it's a kind of like baseball type game, all right? You hammer some pieces of wood into the floor, and then one person stands in front of those pieces of wood with a bat, a cricket bat, and he has to protect those pieces of wood hammered into the floor from someone who comes at him with a cricket ball, which is really hard. Yeah, it's a really hard thing, which is why my analogy, I squeezed the crisps. And when I said it was into like a cricket ball, more of a cricket ball shape, it wasn't the hardness of a cricket ball because it was still soggy. But cricket, so you come at them with a cricket ball, you overarm like that, and you try and hit the sticks, and the person's guarding the sticks. So the person with the bat's guarding the sticks. But even as he's bowling in cricket, even as he's bowling the ball towards you and you're guarding the sticks, he can still be eating a cucumber sandwich. And the batsman, that's what you call them, the guy with the bat, he can be eating a sandwich while he's playing. And also, this is what you've got to understand, guys, around the world. You think you've got it, you watch, if you're in America, right, you got your American football. And in this country, we get in a mood because you guys call our version of football soccer. And we're like, no. Our version of football is just football. You've got American football, we've got football. Don't call our football soccer. But then I was watching QI the other day. QI is a program that tries to take everything you believe about in the world and disrupt it. And QI said that actually Mercurial number 6, because it was almost like it was talking directly to me, is that actually Mercurial number 6? Soccer is the correct term. It should be called soccer, not football. Which was a bit annoying. But anyway, the Americans, you've got these sports, right, like American football, where your score can be, at the end of the game, it can be 1,500 to the Buffalo Bills versus 22,550 to the New York Giants. And then, if you do accidentally stray onto watching a game of soccer, you'll say things like, I'm sorry, but I can't watch a game where at the end of 90 minutes, the score is 0-0. Now, another thing you need to get your heads around is it's not 0-0 even, it's 0-0. The score's 0-0. But anyway, let's be all American about it for a second. The score's 0-0. And you'll say, sorry, Mercurial number 6, I can't watch an hour and a half of sport, where the score is nothing. The score? Oh, how long have you been running around the pitch, kicking the ball, like you do in football, kicking the ball, hands. An hour and a half, these blokes have been running around, kicking that ball, sweating, and I've been watching them. And at the end of it all, an hour and a half, the score is nothing. Nothing. And then you watch the next game. Liverpool versus Man U. And at the end of the 90 minutes, the score is nothing. And then you watch Aston Villa versus Birmingham City. And after the end of an hour and a half, the score is nothing. We get the idea. I would say there's finesse to it. And football on a good day is an art form. And even a 0-0 match can be exciting. But wait till you hear this. You think that watching a bunch of blokes running around sweating, swearing, spitting for an hour and a half, kicking, not punching or holding a ball, is dull. The sport of cricket takes 5 days. 5 days. It takes the sport of cricket takes 5 days. 5. Not 1 day. Not 2 days. It's good. Too much caffeine. Not 3 days. No. Not even 4 days. Cricket takes 5 days. And at the end of the 5 days, the score can be a draw. That's cricket. That's what I had in my hand. In this room, this music conference, surrounded by people who are all looking at me now, because not only have I gone, oh, look at this! Look at this! Look at this! I've also gone, oh, like that, and it's oil running down my arm. And I'm holding it, I'm going, look, it's like a bloody cricket ball. It's like a bloody cricket ball. And then I think I'm still hungry, and the whole point of this is this is a medical exercise. Crispy bacon crisps. This is a medical exercise. So I'm disappointed with this. But I look in the bag and I see there's one individual crisp that wasn't part of a conglomerate. And it's in the bottom of the bag. And I think, okay, I place the cricket ball on my knee. Now, of course, the oil seeps into my trousers, pants. But that's an aside. This is a straight down the line story where I'm getting from point A to point B with no deviations. I see the crisp in the bottom of the bag and I think, mate, there's a chance. See, the thing is, right, I am quite pessimistic. I see the downside of life. I'm the half empty guy, right? Not sexually. Well, and sexually, to be fair, and sexually. But I see the crisp in the bottom of the bag and I think, there's a chance here that this crisp is still crisp. Crisp. So I reach in, I take the crisp, and it's floppy. It's floppy. It's a floppy piece of potato. And everyone's still kind of looking in my general direction. Maybe I'm making a little bit of a spectacle of myself. But I go, look at this! Even this single crisp is floppy! Look, watch! And then, rather than just leave the situation, I don't know if you remember Spinal Tap, where Nigel Tufnell's backstage, and he's got his little sandwiches or whatever backstage, and he's trying to fold the meat or the sandwiches so they fit the sandwiches. It's a joke. I won't recite the whole sketch here, but it involves the narrator, interviewer saying to him, rather than he's trying to put a round piece of ham into some small bread, and when he puts the round piece of ham in between the slices of the small bread, the pieces of ham are overflowing the edges, and the narrator says to him, but why don't you fold the ham? Why don't you fold it and put it between the slices of bread? And then Nigel Tufnell just gets the slices of bread and goes, yeah, but if you fold it, it just does this. And all the bread just snaps in half because he's folding the bread rather than the ham. But if you fold it, you have this. I don't want this. I want this. And then the narrator says to him, well, you know, I'll see what I can do. If it's going to affect you. No, then Nigel says, no, it's not going to affect my performance. It's not going to affect my performance. But anyway, I'm in front of everyone holding this piece of limp potato, but it's a slice of soggy limp. Soggy didn't need the qualifier of limp, but it's a piece of limp potato. And in front of everyone, I start going, look, I can fold it. Who can fold a crisp? And I start folding the crisp up. Now this is interesting, right? Because you can only fold anything a certain number of times. I think it's 8. Now I should have researched this, but I remember this from my youth. If you've got a piece of paper, I think it's something like 8. You can't fold a piece of paper more than 8 times. It's impossible. And I was trying to get my head round this as a kid. It doesn't matter how big you make the paper or how thin you make the paper, you can't fold it more than 8 times. And, I mean, we could try it now. Have I got a piece of... Let's see what I've got in my pocket. Hang on. Well, this isn't good, because I've got a tissue. A great big tissue that came from a restaurant, which I've blown my nose into, right? But let's just do it, right? You don't need to... Hopefully you can't see the snot on it. I think it's 8 times. No matter what it is, right? Piece of paper. You go away and try it with an A4 piece of paper, right? So, fold 1. You can fold it once. It's easy to fold a piece of paper once. Twice. Yeah? Fold it twice. 3 times. 4 times. 5 times. 6 times. 7 times. 8 times. Yeah! Right? So it's obviously not 8. It's more than 8. Right, okay. I can't fold it more than 8 times. And then I thought, well, surely if I got a piece of paper that was like 1 millimetre thin, although I'm aware that Americans can't handle the metric system, so use whatever you want. 32th of an inch thin, a millimetre thin, all right? And imagine this piece of paper's the size of, let's pick an American state. Let's pick a square one. Have you got any square states? How square is Texas? Let's pick Texas. You lay this, mate, you can have it as big as you want, this piece of paper. You can go to infinity, but we'll make it, for the purposes of this, the piece of paper is as big as Texas, all right? So you've got a millimetre thin, that's really thin, piece of paper, the width and breadth and length of Texas, all right? Even like that, you can't fold it more than 8 times. It's hard to get your head around, but imagine that just because the piece of paper is as big as Texas, imagine if you were a giant to the point where the world looked, just say you were a giant and the world was like a beach ball to you. So therefore that piece of paper on Texas would only be like that big, wouldn't it? So then you'd still be a bloke folding a small piece of paper up, no matter how big you make it. So yeah, I'm in this room and I'm going, look, I can fold, look, I shouldn't be able to fold a crisp. I shouldn't be able to fold a crisp. And people are still looking at me. I feel like in an alternate version of the world. You know, they say like every single decision you make in a parallel universe, another version of you made a different decision. So in another universe, there's a version of me who chose not to go, look, I can fold it. There's a version of me that just sat there silently. But in another universe, there's also a crowd of people. It's become a crowd now. It's just a room full of people. But a crowd. There's a crowd of people really appreciating me folding this crisp rather than looking at me like I'm an idiot. Parallel universes. Unfortunately, I'm constantly in the universe where I'm a dickhead. But in another universe, Red Dwarf style, with Ace Rimmer, whatever, there's another version of me who everything that version of the Mercurial number 6 does is... There's another version of me somewhere where this YouTube channel's successful and I've got like 1 million subscribers and not just 7,000. I got fed up with YouTube. I've taken the app off my phone at the moment. I can't be arsed with it. So, I'm doing this with this crisp. People are looking at me and I'm thinking, oh dear. You know, you get to a point in a situation where you've got to think about a way out. There's got to be, like in a contract, to be a get out clause. In reality, in life, you need an out. You need to have an out. Everyone's looking at me. I'm sweating because my life is a sport. I have the limp crisp in my hand. Even though I folded the bloody thing, it hasn't broken. So I just right like that. So what I do at this point is I take the crisp, I put it back in the bag, I take the cricket ball off my knee, which has saturated my trousers, pants, and I put that back in the packet as well. So now I've got a packet of crispy bacon crisps with the cricket ball inside. And I stand up and I walk slowly towards the corner of the room. Now I know there's a bin in the corner of the room because I spied a bin, trash can in the corner of the room because I spied it earlier. The people around, sitting on their chairs, go back to what they were doing. The idiot appears to be leaving. And as I get to the bin, trash can, I have a final flourish where I can't just put it in the bin. This is ridiculous, and this is true. This was 2 days ago. Oh, hold on. Okay, so now I realise that my doorbell plays "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." No one told me that, but when I'm sitting here and I hear dum 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 dum, it's still November, but I don't mind. Okay. In a parallel universe, there's a version of me that wants Christmas to last all year. This universe doesn't yet contain that version of me, but I could be persuaded. So I'm standing next to the bin, trash can, with the packet, and I have a final flourish. I could just put it in the bin, trash can, but I don't. This is ridiculous because this did happen 2 days ago. This is even saying this out loud makes me feel a little bit bad for myself. I slam dunked it. I jumped. I had it. So I was relatively. I wasn't necessarily in a. I was in a bad mood because I did want to eat those crisps. And even as I was walking towards the bin, the people that were my friends were saying to me, just take it back and get a refund. And I was like, no, because I don't do things like that. I use bad things that happen to me as opportunities to bask in my bad feeling. But I get to the bin and I don't just slam dunk it gently. I do an overarm and I jump. So I jump. I kind of hang in the air slightly. In my mind, I'm hanging in the air. In reality, I wasn't hanging in the air, but in my mind, I'm hanging in the air. And I slam dunked it into the bin. Trash can. And the noise it made! It was like an explosion. And then I got everyone's attention with that. Everyone looks at me. And a lady, she stands up and she says, have you got a problem? And that's when I said, that's deep. I said to her, that's deep. And she looked at me like she was still looking at me like I was an idiot. I said to her, that's deep. Have I got a problem? Holy shit. Have I got a problem? That's almost existential. Have I got a problem? Have I got a problem? And I didn't answer her. I walked slightly more briskly than when I walked to the bin, trash can. I walked briskly back to my seat. I sat down and I pondered that. Have I got a problem?